Welcome back to another lesson with me, Mr. B. Today, we're going to be looking at the method of annotating we'll use as we read a novel. Annotations are notes of explanations or comments of a text. For English, this is known as literary analysis. So what is a literary analysis annotation organizer? You're going to find this assignment right here where it says literary analysis annotation organizer. And if you've had my class before or recall from a different but similar activity, this is the form of annotating that we'll be using for this class. It's something that I learned while in grad school that made way more sense to me than the traditional annotations, kind of like this, that have tiny writing in the margins of the book. Let's take a look at what this literary analysis annotation organizer looks like. Over in the assignment on Google Classroom, you'll find this document, which will be labeled appropriately according to the unit and say literary analysis annotation organizer. Using a table like this just made it way more faster and way more organized for me to pull evidence for my essays. Instead of having to revisit a book that I'm reading and flip through the pages and be like, what was in chapter 10 again? Oh, there it is on this page right over here. That's what I was looking for. So in this document, you'll find on the first page, you'll find some guided reading prompts, like the numbers that I'm highlighting right here. These are also known as the essay prompts for the final of any unit related to a novel that we're reading. There are a variety of topics that we discussed based on the unit or book that we're looking at. And in this example, we're going to be looking at The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. So let's take a look at prompt number 3. It says an overarching theme of this book is your voice matters. Throughout this entire book, we see our protagonist Star struggling to find the power in her voice. Revisit passages, your annotations, and other assignments to help you analyze whether or not you think the statement, your voice matters, rings true for Star Carter. So as we're reading, ideally, we can keep this or any of the 3 prompts that we're looking at in mind. I might use number 3 over here as a lens, kind of like literary theory when we were talking about critical race or feminism, gender, and sexuality, to think about as I'm reading. So in this case, for prompt number 3, where do I find instances of Star's voice mattering? Or where do I find it being challenged? Where or when in the book does she struggle with her voice? Which is that part right here, whether or not you think this statement, your voice matter, rings true for Star. So over on the second page, you'll actually find an example or evidence related to prompt number 3, where you'll again find this graphic organizer that's sorted by page number and prompt number, concrete detail, evidence, quote, whichever one you want to call it, analysis and commentary, and then questions or other annotations. So here's an example of how this could be filled out. So over here on the left-hand column, I put in chapter 4, page 53, and related to prompt number 3 of do I think Star's voice matters? The passage that I chose, Uncle Carlos sighs. Lisa, the sooner she talks to the detectives, the better. It will be a simple process. All she has to do is answer some questions. That's it. Peep the proper citation. And then what is my analysis? How does this connect to the prompt of Star's voice mattering? So the example analysis here says the conversation between Lisa, Mav, and Uncle Carlos shows how Star lacks control over her own voice. Although she is from a strong community, she lacks agency or control to speak out for herself. So as we've been practicing, ideally, you'll want 2 sentences of analysis explaining why you chose this passage to represent prompt number 3. Then for this other column over here, questions and other annotations. This is an optional column. So as you can see, I wrote a little bit more here. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is my analysis. These are just connections that I'm making to the book, things that I would like to share, or things that are on my mind that are helping me make sense of why I chose this quote, or maybe just other things I have to say about it. So I wrote, I strongly agree with this statement, your voice matters. Uncle Carlos emphasizes that if Star makes a statement, it would give her the chance to speak up for Khalil. I wonder if Uncle Carlos really cares about Star's voice, or is he just trying to use her to make a statement for the case so it can be quote unquote resolved. This makes me think that people, especially in her own community, care more about using her voice rather than listening to it. So again, as we can see, this is just me kind of connecting myself to the story or just other thoughts that I have that I kind of want to get down. I can even draw from these annotations later on if I want to use it as a form of analysis, depending on how I want it to support my essay. Then, depending on the instructions, you're going to add on an annotation every single time you find something related to, in this case, prompt number 3. Even if you don't have a solid prompt chosen, as it says right here, highlight the one that you want to focus on. Or again, if you don't have one that you're focusing on, you can note which prompt the evidence that you're analyzing relates to. So like it says here, you can add as many boxes as necessary to this graphic organizer. So let's say you fill up both of these and you run out of space. I would suggest that you make copies of the empty tables ahead of time. So that way you don't have to struggle with running out of space. So let's pretend ran out of space. Let's go to the next page. And maybe this table is specifically going to be chapter 2. So you can organize it a little better and then copy and paste it right into the next page. You can command or control paste the table into the new page like I just did, or you can go to any row of the table, let's say the bottom one in particular. When you right click with your mouse, if you have one, or find the way to like kind of option click, whatever your thing is here. And you can see this little menu opens up and I want to insert a row below. When I insert a row below, we can see that it adds another row. Maybe I want to add another one. There we go. As you can see, the spacing is a little off, but as you type and you can enter, make the adjustments accordingly. I hope that was clear instructions on how to use the literary analysis annotation organizer. Again, it personally helps me organize my thoughts and makes reading almost like a fun little puzzle. In past years, students that are more comfortable on paper would recreate this organizer in their notebooks or on binder paper. Totally your preference on whatever works best. I personally like it digitally so I can just copy and paste my evidence and analysis when it's time to write the essay. Makes things easier in the long run, but again, totally up to you. If you're lost or confused, let me know and I'll help you out. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.